Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive into urban transformation. We're looking at how cities, Montreal specifically, are evolving in some truly surprising ways. Think community needs, innovative design, strategic investments, all shaping the places we call home.
That's absolutely right. And our question for you today is, well, it's to unpack this recent collection of updates, the Infodrone Recap, early July 2025. We're going to dig into what might seem like just local projects, but really highlight the surprising connections, the big picture implications behind them. The goal is really to show you how all these different initiatives add up to a city that's more livable, more sustainable, and really focused on community.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Our first story, this sounds exciting. Quai 34 in Lachine. Now, this isn't just, another park project. It's $3.7 million, sure, but what's really unique is it came out of Montreal's first ever participatory budget. So that means it was literally designed by the community for the community, transforming like an old paved site in St. Louis Park into this new relaxation and nature spot. For a project like this to be so directly community-driven, what's the biggest impact there for urban planning?
Well, Quasi 34 is, well, it's masterclass, really, turning that civic engagement into actual concrete ownership. Montreal's first participatory budget project, it just proves that when residents literally design their own park, it becomes more than just public space. It's a deeply cherished community asset. That's what's so fascinating here. It kind of sets a new standard for urban belonging. You can see in the details, right? The wave-inspired furniture, those fish murals. It makes it truly theirs.
Yeah, that ownership piece feels huge. But are there any, potential long-term challenges? Or maybe unexpected outcomes Montreal might face if they lean more heavily on this participatory budgeting for big projects down the road?
That's a really good question. I mean, while these budgets create immense goodwill and, tailored projects perfectly to local needs, they can also add complexity. Think timelines. Managing all those diverse expectations is not always straightforward. The long-term challenge, I think, is scaling these successes. How do you do more of this without losing that vital, direct community involvement, making sure efficiency doesn't accidentally sort of overshadow the participation part?
Fascinating trade-offs. Okay, so let's shift gears slightly. We've gone from a brand new community-created space. Now let's look at an existing one getting a major refresh. Over on Nuns Island, West Vancouver Park is getting a big transformation in its central plaza. So unlike Quasi 34, which was built from scratch on pavement, this is about improving what's already there. They're doing things like better lighting for safety at night, putting in new furniture, creating picnic spots, social areas, and even optimizing the bike path that runs through the park. So when we compare these two park projects, what's the key difference in urban strategy we're seeing?
Well, you're seeing two pretty distinct approaches here, right? West Vancouver Park, that's all about enhancing what's already working, making a well-used space even better for the people already using it, focusing on function, on safety. Quad 34, on the other hand, that's more radical, a community-driven reimagining, starting fresh. And this really highlights a core question for city planners. What's the right balance? How much do you focus on upgrading what you have versus creating totally new, maybe more innovative public spaces for you? Both are vital, definitely, but they meet different kinds of needs, different visions.
Right, different tools for different jobs, essentially. And speaking of immediate needs, often driven by the community, let's talk about pets, our furry friends. There's a new temporary dog park that just popped up in Mile End. This is a pilot project. It's on the de Gaspé skating rink site corner of de Gaspé and Bernard East, right next to the Champs Possible. And apparently it was genuinely born from citizens asking for it, mobilizing, which is interesting because, Montreal already has over 63 dog parks across its 19 boroughs. This is another one, but a specific temporary one.
Exactly. And this specific case really shows the flexibility you get with temporary pilot projects. There's such responsive urban solutions. It shows how a city can react pretty quickly to these maybe niche community demands, test out an idea without a huge long-term commitment. I mean, you can almost hear the happy tails wagging, right? That it really demonstrates how even these seemingly smaller specific needs can drive quick urban changes and bring immediate benefits. It's like real-time urban planning based on direct feedback.
Real-time planning, I like that. Okay, moving on to something really quite different and very innovative, let's switch gears to green innovations. There's this incredible food forest taking root, get this, at the Bimbo Company site in Hochelaga Maisonneuve. The Hochelaga Maisonneuve Collective Kitchen, the CCHM, they've planted 120 fruit trees and 200 berry bushes right there on the bakery's property. And this isn't their only site, apparently. It joins 5 others the CCHM runs, like at SAQ, Scientific Games, Fond Action, La Lamont, and the 5600 Hochelaga Complex. So integrating productive green spaces like this onto corporate land. What's the bigger picture there?
Well, Montreal's Food Forest program, especially putting them on corporate sites like Bimbo,
Yeah.
it's more than just sustainability. It's quite revolutionary, actually. It's a potential game changer for local food security. It proves you can turn these, industrial or corporate landscapes into shared, distributed pantries. It builds ecological resilience right into the city fabric. Imagine grabbing an apple from a tree on your lunch break at the office. It's a totally different kind of corporate perk, right? And it really shifts our whole idea of what an urban space can even be.
That's a really powerful image. But practically speaking, what are the biggest challenges in keeping these urban food forests going, especially when they're on private corporate land?
Yeah, the hurdles are often about long-term maintenance agreements and keeping volunteers engaged, especially since the land isn't directly public, making sure the plants actually thrive, that the food gets harvested responsibly, that it stays accessible for community benefit. It takes real ongoing coordination between the collective kitchen, the corporate hosts. It's a fantastic idea, but it definitely needs dedicated stewardship to work long-term.
Makes sense. Okay, so from food forests, let's move to something called a sponge urban oasis. This is Place Boyer in Rosemont-le-Petit-Patrie, another interesting angle. This public space used to be a municipal parking lot. And the greening is pretty impressive, over 1,450 plants, about 20 trees and shrubs, really boosting local biodiversity.
Yes, and the Sponge City part of Place Boyer is really quite remarkable. Take its rain garden, it can hold up to 81.5 cubic meters of water. That's like, what, over 530 bathtubs worth? So it's managing runoff really effectively from the square itself, Boyer Street, even a nearby alley. Plus, there's this permeable grading platform, letting water seep down into an underground retention basin. But like you said about multifunctionality, Place Boyer isn't just about water. Beyond the ecology, it's designed as this vibrant gathering spot. Cultural space, too. It's got a stunning mural by MU, really distinctive furniture, misting stations for hot days, nice lighting, even a little kiosk in a container really makes you ask, how can projects like this pack in so many benefits, ecological, social, creating these truly multifunctional spaces that serve the community on so many levels?
Absolutely. Multitasking urban spaces. Okay, now let's look up at how our city skylines might be changing and what that means for housing. We're turning to the big redevelopment project at Lot Voyager. That's the old downtown bus terminal site. And there's been a pretty significant change here. The plan was initially for 20 stories, about 1,030 housing units. Now it's been revised. Heights will range from 13 to 25 stories, and the total units bumped up to 1,200. Though, worth noting, construction probably won't start until 2027 or 2028, so still a ways off. Expert, what's the thinking behind that kind of upward revision in a major housing project like this?
What's really fascinating there is that jump in plan density. It speaks volumes, I think, about Montreal's shifting strategies for tackling the acute housing demand downtown. It could signal a stronger commitment to densification, really maximizing these key central locations. This points to a very long-term, multi-year planning effort to turn a really pivotal site into a high-density residential hub. And it makes us think about how cities are trying to balance those immediate housing needs with, long-term urban growth and the infrastructure required to support it.
Right, a long game approach. Okay, and finally, let's talk about spreading the economic love beyond the usual downtown cores or main drags. Montreal's putting a solid $1.7 million into revitalizing commercial streets that are outside the established business improvement areas, the BIAs. This is strategic money supporting 15 different revitalization projects. The support is tailored, ranging from $75,000 up to $173,000 per borough. And the boroughs getting the most are Côte-de-Neige, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, 173K, Villeray-Saint-Michel Park Extension, 164K, and Le Plateau Montréal, 145K. So what's the key difference in strategy here compared to just supporting the existing BIAs? What problem is this funding trying to solve?
This targeted funding is, well, it's incredibly strategic because it's directly tackling equitable development. It's aiming to spark economic life beyond those already well-established commercial hubs. See, BIAs, they often have their own funding streams. They represent more structured business groups already. This money, it's crucial for helping new or maybe less organized business communities get started, encouraging coordinated planning, launching sustainable, inclusive projects in areas that, yeah, might otherwise get overlooked. It really pushes us to think about how cities can make sure economic vibrancy, economic opportunity is genuinely spread across all neighborhoods, not just concentrated on the main streets.
Wow, what a deep dive indeed. From parks designed by the people living nearby to urban farms on corporate land, sponge gardens, denser housing, and supporting neighborhood businesses. These individual projects from the Infodrone recap, they really paint a picture of just how dynamic modern city planning is, how our urban spaces are constantly evolving for you.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Based on everything we've talked about today, especially thinking about that sponge oasis or the food forest, consider how every piece of the city around you, no matter how small or, mundane it seems, could potentially serve multiple purposes. Ecological, social, economic, all at once. We really encourage you to look at your own surroundings, maybe with fresh eyes. Ask yourself how the public spaces, even private ones, could be reimagined. How could they contribute more to a resilient, community-focused, sustainable future where you live? The key question, perhaps, is this. How might the seemingly unremarkable parts of your everyday city environment actually hold the key to some really unexpected innovation and community growth?